So, yes, we are here to talk about this year's Youth Innovation Challenge. And we're organizing this applicant webinar for all of you potential applicants. And we will spend the next hour diving into all of the details to help you get ready and be prepared to submit your best application for the Youth Innovation Challenge. And we are going to be talking a lot about introductions, who we are, all the different organizations and partners that are supporting this work. We'll dive into the nitty-gritty details of the Youth Innovation Challenge and how to put forth the best, most competitive application. We have so many tips of how to do that, tips and ideas and strategies for how to do it. And we do have some time at the end reserved for Q&A, but we'll take questions throughout. So as you think of your questions, Madeline and I are going to be monitoring the chat. So as they come up for you, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and we'll get to as many questions as we can in the hour that we've got today. All right, so that is our agenda for the day today. And a few housekeeping items before we get into the details. I already mentioned to use the chat whenever you think of a question or you've got a comment. We do ask you to please stay muted, so help us keep down the background noise. We are using a Zoom meeting, so you are welcome to unmute yourself when you do have a question. You can also show your face if you want to say hi. We are speaking in lots of different languages. Just from the introductions, we all are coming from different places. So we do welcome you to ask questions and ask for clarity. If something isn't clear, ask that question in the chat. Ask us to speak slowly, slow it down. I know I get excited. When I get excited, I start speaking faster. So just chime in if you need any help understanding what we're saying. And lastly, we are recording this webinar. All of you will get a copy of the recording, and we'll be posting it onto the YIC website. Okay, any other housekeeping, Madeline, we should talk about?
No, I think that's great.
Okay, so folks are still joining us in the chat. So welcome to all of you that I didn't get a chance to say hi to yet. Please do say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. It is so wonderful to get this international group here today. All right, so let's keep going. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you've got a toolbar available to you at the bottom of your screen where you can mute yourself. Many of you have already found the chat box. That's where we'll be doing the most of our conversations and Q&A in that chat. And if you would like live captioning, you can just click on that CC box and you can get live captioning for all of the audio here, and you can get translation in 30, 40 different languages. So lots of different ways to stay connected with us. And what do we have next? I want to say a little bit about who we are. My name is Anne Umali. I am part of the NAAE team. I'll be tag teaming this Q&A webinar with my colleague, Madeline. Madeline, do you want to say hi?
Sure, thanks, Anne. Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline. I work with Anne on the NAAE team to support the Youth Innovation Challenge. And it's so great to see so many people here. And thank you for saying hello in the chat and putting where you're from. If you're just joining, welcome again. And back to you, Anne. Thanks.
Thanks, Madeline. So both Madeline and I will be with you today for this hour and also throughout the application process. If you have questions, you can reach out to either of us. Madeline is deeply involved in all of the nitty-gritty details. So she will become your best friend throughout this application process. So really get a chance to know Madeline today. And I also want to thank the Taiwan Ocean Conservation Administration. We are so grateful for this partnership that we have with them going on 6 years now. And we are so grateful for this support. And through their support, we're able to host this Youth Innovation Challenge with all of you. And in just a moment, I've got a video that I'm going to share from the director, Lou, from Taiwan OCA, because she wanted to say hi and welcome all of you. So let's go ahead and play that video. Madeline, can you play that for me?
Hi everyone, welcome to the 5 Youth Innovation Challenges Online. I'm Xiaoyun Lu, Director General of the Ocean Conservation Administration, Ocean Affairs Council from Taiwan. It's really great to see so many people from around the world who care about the ocean. And I'm very happy to be here with you today, even if it's through the video. Every year, the Youth Innovation Challenge focuses on different ocean issues and invites young people aged 15 to 30 worldwide to share their ideas and solutions. We know the ocean is facing a lot of challenges right now, so we really hope this platform gives young people a chance to speak up and share what you see, what you care about, and what you want to change. We also believe that when different generations come together and exchange ideas, that's when the new and meaningful solutions can really happen. Since 2021, OCA has been working with the US EPA to support this challenge. With the North American Association for Environmental Education, which is NAAWE hosting, and GIP, the Global Environmental Education Partnership, helping to implement the program. Over the years, we have talked about many important topics: marine debris and climate change in 2021, solutions to marine debris in 2022, saving our ocean in 2023, and SDG 14, life below water in 2024 and 2025. And this year, for 2026, we want to start from something very simple, our own actions, and then expand this impact to our families, our communities, and even globally. Whether it's reducing waste, tackling marine debris, or promoting ocean education, every small action can grow into something bigger. Because of the time difference, I am joining you through this pre-recorded message today. But I really hope that in the near future, we will have a chance to meet you in person here in Taiwan and hear your stories and ideas directly. Before the end of this video, I just want to say a big thank you once again to NAAWE and GIP for creating such a great platform for young people to share their ideas and turn them into actions. I hope you all have a great, inspiring, and meaningful discussion today, and we will be waiting for you here in Taiwan. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes, they are all waiting for us in Taiwan. Thank you, Director Liu, for that welcome, and really a huge thank you to the entire OCA team, including Jimmy and Linda and all of them for their support. It really has been wonderful, a wonderful partnership over the last 6 years to run this program together. All right. So to give you a little bit more context, I want to spend just the next couple of minutes talking about NAAWE. It's a bit of a mouthful, but that is the North American Association for Environmental Education. It is where Madeline and I both work, and we are the main organization that is managing the details, the administration of the YIC program. And about us, we are the professional association that supports environmental education all over the world in order to create a more equitable and sustainable future. And even though we have North America in our name, our work is actually global, it's international. And our international work is mostly convened through the JEEP network that Director Liu mentioned. And the JEEP is another acronym, and that stands for the Global Environmental Education Partnership. And NAAWE is a secretariat for the JEEP. And the Jeep is essentially a growing, vibrant international network of environmental education professionals all over the world. And this network, it aims to build capacity, share practice, strengthen EE that is happening on the ground all over. So it's essentially NAAA, but at this global scale, and it involves so many individuals just like you that are working on the ground to solve environmental problems. So those are the two main organizations that are supporting this work. And now I think it's time to get into the details. And for all of that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Madeline, to walk us through it all.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Anne. And welcome in. I know there's still some folks joining, so welcome to the YIC applicant webinar. My name is Madeline, and I work with Anne at NAAE, like she just mentioned. I'm going to talk through the YIC a little bit more. So about the challenge, about our selection criteria, some tips and advice that we have for you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But as I'm going, please feel free to continue adding any questions to the chat. You can even continue introducing yourself, tell us where you're from, but we'll just keep going. So as you heard just now from Director General Liu, the 2026 Youth Innovation Challenge, or we call it the YIC, is all about how we can protect marine resources and support people of all ages to be engaged stewards for marine environments. There are a lot of benefits to applying to the YIC. From our applicant pool, we'll select 15 finalists this year. And everyone who's selected as a YIC finalist will receive a certificate, global recognition on our websites and social media, and access to a growing global community of EE professionals and YIC alumni. We have so many, we're on our 6th year, so there's so many YIC alumni this year who are also amazing change makers. From our 15 finalists, we'll select 3 winners to receive a $1,000 prize that they can put towards implementing their solution. And the winners will also be invited to attend an award ceremony in Taiwan in September, with up to 2 days of travel covered to attend. So we'll let our finalists and winners know that they are the finalists and winners in August 2026, coming up pretty soon. A few eligibility requirements I want to talk through, and these are really important to address. So first, your solution itself must address one of the key topics, which I'll discuss in just a minute, and it should also include an environmental education component. Your application should include a video pitch, 3 minutes or less long. And we ask that all applications are submitted online through Submittable, which is our application and review portal. And applications should be submitted in English, including the video. So you as an applicant should be between the ages of 15 and 30 years old at the time that you submit, and you can be from anywhere in the world. Now, the key topics I just mentioned. So your solution must address one of our key topics, and we have 3 this year. And DG Lu covered these a little bit, but I'm going to talk through them a little bit more. So our first key topic is taking personal action to reduce waste and marine debris. Our second key topic is developing marine debris strategies that address a community or societal impact. And the third is advancing global marine protection through things like collaboration, partnerships, and policy. So you can see we have key topics that kind of stem starting personal action and then kind of get a little bit bigger, maybe addressing something in your community or your region or your state, and then even bigger at a global perspective. So you don't have to address all 3 of these. We just want to see that you're picking one and really focusing on that. One thing I want to note, if you haven't already seen, we have a YIC applicant handbook, and this includes all of the information you need to know about the YIC, including the things I'll talk about today, the selection criteria, some more resources, and also the application questions if you want to take a look at them before you submit. So you can find this on our YIC webpage, and please, I encourage you to take a look at this before you submit your solution, and then to reach out if you have any questions. Okay, so before I dive into our YIC selection criteria, I do want to talk a little bit about the video part. The video pitch is kind of a big part of your solution that you're sending us. It kind of gives us an overview of your innovation, maybe some context about your solution, and it highlights the important parts that you want us to know. And it introduces us to you, so we get to know a little bit about who you are and what you're working on. So when you submit your video, we have a few parameters here. We ask that your video is no longer than 3 minutes, so our judges will not watch anything past the 3-minute mark. We ask that your video is in English, and it's a bonus if you can also include subtitles or a video transcript in English, which helps the reviewers understand your video more clearly. We have a file size limit and also some specific file types that we are able to accept, and you can check those out in the application itself on Submittable. And we ask that if you're adding things like music or images or third-party videos, that you only use copyright-free content and that you provide links to the sources from that content in your application itself. And then finally, some people like to include videos or photos of people from their community, or maybe their friends or their team members. Whatever you're doing, if you're including photos that have people that you know or that you work with, make sure that they give you permission to use that content. And then a few tips to make a successful video. Some of our strongest videos include some background information or a little bit of context about the problem that they're addressing. If you're having people on camera, including yourself, which is fine, this can be informal if you wanted to. Make sure that you're talking to the camera, you have a quiet background, you have some good lighting so we can see you. And then please keep all videos at 1 time speed. Please don't speed up the videos at all because that makes it a little harder for the judges to understand. And then overall, through your video, you can let your personality shine through. This is where you can really get creative, show us your passion, tell us about yourself a little bit, and really have yourself shine through and the passion that you have for ocean environments. We have a couple video resources. We'll send you these in a link after this webinar, but we do have some more video tips on our website, and we have all of our past awardee videos on our website. So definitely you can look through those for some inspiration and also just to see the diversity of approaches to the video. There are a lot of different creative ways that people will use their video pitch to really pitch their innovative solution to us and successfully. One quick note about AI is that we encourage you to use real examples of your work or your community initiatives. So we will prioritize and prefer submissions that are using original content. So for example, submissions that use original video footage that you've taken over something that's AI generated. So that was all about the YIC video and eligibility and benefits. I do want to jump into our selection criteria, but I'm going to pause for a moment, Anne, and see if there's any pressing questions that we should address from the chat.
One of the pressing questions that came in the chat is, are folks allowed to take the basis of a project, an idea of the project that is a current existing community movement? And what would you like to see if they were to take an existing idea and use it as a YIC proposal?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we are going to dive in a little bit to that when we talk about our selection criteria on innovation. But I will say innovation can look different. So if there's already a project existing in your community, what ways can you take that and maybe slightly change it a little bit or enhance it or scale it to make it a little bit different? Maybe it reaches a different audience that you haven't before. So for example, if right now that project is reaching only school-age children, is there a way you could maybe engage elders from your community as well? So yeah, you can definitely take a project that's already going and you can change it in some way or expand it to enhance it. Does that make sense? Anne, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. That sounds great. Like what new twist would you like to propose to make your idea a little bit more creative for this program? But what you said is perfect.
Yeah.
I was also wondering, Madeline, if you could touch on a question about individual versus team participation. Darren is asking, is it an individual competition or can you participate as a team? Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes, and it is both. You can submit either as an individual or you can submit as a team. So if you are a team, we ask that only one person, so maybe a team leader is the one that submits the application. And there'll be an area in the submission where you can add other team members' names. We do limit it to 5 team members. So if your team has more than 5, please just send me an email and we can talk through next steps for how we can make sure all of your team members are recognized within the submission. But yes, you can either submit as an individual or you can submit as a team. They go through the same evaluation either way.
And I see a hand up from, I forget who Grant's Project is, but Grant's Project, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
All right. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. And what I want to inquire is the video. Can we use our own personal gadget to snap this video instead of us going to a studio or anything similar to that to get this sophistication needed? Can we just use the normal resources we have?
You want to take that, Madeline?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if it cut off a little bit. So are you asking if you can just record the video yourself? Is that what the question is?
Yeah. What I'm saying now is that can I use my own gadget? Maybe I can use my laptop and maybe I can use my phone. And my phone maybe probably is not 50 megapixel. It is 12 or 13. And maybe I cannot afford to go to studio to snap a very good video. Can I use the available sources I have?
Yes, that is a really great question. And we definitely encourage you to use what you have. If you want to use your cell phone to record your video, if you want to use your laptop to record, please use those. We will not judge you based on your video quality. And so we don't expect you to have like high quality TV production type video submission. So please use what you've got. It does not have to be perfect. We don't have any expectations for high quality videos, but we do just want to see your solution shine through in that video.
Awesome. Great answer, Madeline. And there are a ton of questions coming in the chat, but I'm wondering if we can move ahead to get more into the details of the selection criteria, because I think a lot of these questions will be answered in your presentation. If you
Yes,
want to
let's
keep
do
going.
that. That sounds
Okay.
great, and we'll have some more time for questions
Yeah.
in a few minutes here. But I'll just talk through a little bit of our selection criteria. Sorry about that. Let me go back here. And so just before we have some overall advice, we do have these 5 selection criteria that I want to highlight for you. And these are things that our judges will evaluate your solution on. And so I'm going to dive a little bit into each one. So the first selection criteria is what I already mentioned, our key topics. So your innovation should address one of these key topics. Again, it does not have to address all 3, only one. And then the second selection criteria is that your solution must include an environmental education component. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this one because we often get questions about what is environmental education. So we call environmental education EE because it can be a mouthful to say. And so EE provides the skills, the values, attitudes, and motivation to encourage individuals or groups to take positive action for the environment. And so as a key part of your solution, we hope that you use EE to help ensure that your solution will be focused on long-term change and empowering your community to care about marine environments and to want to take action and work with you to take that action. So we like to sum it up into 4 things, and this is what we also have our judges review your EE component on. So 4 things that EE does. It builds capacity for informed choices. So it provides people with, again, the knowledge and the attitudes to want to make a change. It integrates your environmental goals into the context of a community. So it notices and understands that your community might have specific interests, it might have specific issues, and it addresses those. Your EE supports collaborative partnerships, also recognizing that people will have different backgrounds and different perspectives. And it focuses again on really that empowering people to take action for the environment. So EE does a little bit more than just raising awareness about an issue. It really equips people with skills and tools to want to take action. So it should encourage things like open discussion, collaborative problem solving, really towards a shared goal. We have a lot more about environmental education on our website, and we'll send you this link in an email after the webinar. But one resource that is really helpful from us is our professional learning website that we call EE Pro. And so EE Pro is an online hub for environmental education professionals to share things like opportunities, to talk about specific topics about the environment or sustainability. And we also have what we call our learning modules. So there's some that are specific to what is environmental education and why does it matter. So really, if environmental education is kind of a newer concept for you, or if you want to just learn more and kind of refresh what you already know, this is a really great resource to dive into EE and then to help you implement some type of environmental education component into your solution for the YIC. So that was a lot about environmental ed, and that was just one criteria. So I'm going to keep moving, but let us know if you have any questions on that. So the third selection criteria is that your solution should be informed by some type of relevant research or evidence. And really, this is because we want to see that you've designed your solution based on an understanding of all the complex dynamics around the marine issues, right? So the social, economic, and environmental things that are relevant to the issue that you're addressing. And we want to see research that can come from books or journals or websites or videos, really any credible source. And so we do have a great website that we use that helps you to understand what is a credible source, and we'll send you that. And I will say we get asked if they have to have citations in your submission, and sometimes there's not room for that. So we don't ask for citations, but if you can just link the sources that you are including in your submission, that would be great. And the fourth selection criteria is that your solution must be innovative. So this kind of goes back to our earlier question that we had today. And so we are looking for solutions that meet a need for your audience. So your audience might be you yourself taking personal action. It might be your community. It might be your country. It might be something global. And that you are using a new or a better idea, practice, product, process, strategy, whatever it is, to address this issue that you're attempting to solve. So this could be something completely new. It could be a new invention, a new technology, or it could be applying an existing tool, so something already in place, or using a new approach in a new context with a different audience in a creative way, using environmental ed. So again, it can be something completely new, you've never seen this before, or it could be, hey, this thing already exists, but I know how I can make it a little bit better, or I know how I can use it to engage a new audience. There are a lot of creative avenues that you can take here, but we ask that you describe how it is innovative, how is it different from what already exists. And then the last selection criteria I'll talk about is our feasible and measurable. So we want to see that you have the necessary skills and experiences to make your solution a success. We also want to see that you're thinking about and can identify potential challenges or risks, maybe that would affect the long-term viability of your solution, and maybe that you are able to measure the impacts of your solution, we want to see if there's any potential positive impacts that you anticipate, and then also how maybe you could scale or replicate your solution. You don't need to have every detail figured out. We just want to see that you're thoughtfully considering how will your solution stay sustainable in the long term. So that was all of our 5 selection criteria, which really drive what makes a strong YIC proposal. I'm going to transition into a couple of frequently asked questions, which are things that we've actually already addressed so far, but just to give you a quick overview, and then we'll dive into a little bit more tips. But first, we often get asked, can you apply as a team? Just like I mentioned earlier, you can apply either as an individual or a team. That being said, you can only submit one solution. So you will have to decide if you want to submit as an individual or as a team for this year's round of applications. And then I just want to note, just like we don't judge your video quality, we also don't judge your English language ability. So we want to see that you're that you are actually communicating about your solution and your vision. But if it's not perfect English, if you're not super comfortable speaking, but you're doing it anyway, that's great. And our judges will do their best to understand what you're getting across. So don't worry too much if you're not super comfortable with English. Please do continue to submit your solution in English to the best of your ability. We do have all FAQ questions on our website. Definitely take a look at those and let me know if you have any questions that are not addressed there. So, Anne, just want to check in if this is a good time to pause it all before we go into overall advice. I'm seeing some movement in the chat here, if there's anything that we should
Yes. I wanted to go back to Vaishavna's question about evaluation of feasibility. Can you get a little bit more into the weeds about, when we are looking at applicants and what judges are looking at, and when they're thinking about feasibility for research-backed ideas, how do they do that without working prototypes? So how would an applicant be thinking about that if it's a brand new idea, they have the research to back it up, don't yet have a prototype? Can you think more about, like, what advice would you give them as a potential reviewer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so some things that we see from past applicants that really stand out is they are able to point to some specific partnerships that would help make their solution something actually feasible and implemented. And so things like you can say, if you don't have the skills for this, can you point to people in your community? Can you point to universities or businesses or others who might help you to actually make this a success? And how can you make sure that you can get that partnership? So, what are ways that you would collaborate with those folks to have your solution come to life? Does that help answer the question? And would you add anything to that?
No, I think that's a great way to think about it is partnerships, and how are you demonstrating established relationships with these partners. So if you are relying on a different group that has the expertise and resources, how are you showing that you already have these connections and working relationships with these groups?
Yeah.
I had another question about, I think, going back to teams. Madeline, a group was asking, well, if a team wins, does the whole team get to go to Taiwan? And how does that work? Lots of questions about that award.
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you are a team and you do win the YIC, we are unfortunately only able to send one person to Taiwan. And so it would be the team's decision, but it's often the team leader, the person who submits, who will be invited. But yeah, if it is a team, just the one person from the team will go. But the whole team will receive the $1,000 prize that they can implement, or they can put towards the implementation of their solution.
Great, Mala. Let's keep going. Do you want to go with additional tips? Oh, actually, Kaylee's hand has been up for a little while. Kaylee,
Yeah,
do you want to, can we take Kaylee's question and then we can keep going?
sounds great.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, alrighty. My name is Kaylee. I am a junior in Missouri, and I have always had a to read. I've had a passion for me that I can stay
Haley,
connected with people who are
Haley,
also in.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's hard to hear you. I wonder if like sharing your video interrupts the flow a little bit. Can you try speaking up again, but don't share your video this time?
Yes, let me try that. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Much, much better. Thank you. Keep going, Kaylee.
Okay. Awesome. So, like I said, I'm Kaylee and I'm a junior in Missouri. I have always had a passion for conservation, but I've always had a passion for making sure I stay connected with individuals who are also invested in conservation and environmental protection. So I think one of the best ways that this could be productive use of all of our times is if we could like exchange LinkedIn's or, like find a way to stay connected because even though not all of us can win this, I think we could all, learn a lot from this by staying connected with others. So I'm just wondering if that is an if there's a way that we can all figure that out, or even just exchange emails at some point.
I love that so much. What a wonderful idea, Kaylee. You're already thinking about just by being here and being connected to everybody, you already win. So, yes, an invitation. If you would like to put it in the chat right now, your LinkedIn site so that folks can find you, I welcome you all to do that. What a wonderful idea, Kaylee. Cool. And we've got folks already joining in, Kaylee, so you are not alone. What do you think, Madeline? Do you want to keep going? You want to take a few more questions?
Let's keep going just through some overall advice, and then we'll have a lot of time for Q&A after that. So let
All
me just
right.
go through here. And just some overall advice based on what we've seen from past submissions and what our judges have told us in their feedback on the program. So a few things that we recommend. And the first thing, and we get this so frequently, is to be specific. So really dive into some examples, some activities, the details about what your solution includes. For example, if you are saying, my solution is a workshop for preschoolers, well, what kind of activities will the workshop include? What is the goal of the workshop? What impacts do you expect? Is there any way that you would measure that impact? So really adding in all that you can, and you can use the word count as a guide, but really adding in as much detail as you can to help us really understand what your project is and what it will be doing. Align your responses with the selection criteria, just that we had just talked about. Again, this is what the judges use to evaluate your solutions. And so if you can do your best to really align what you're writing in your submission with the things that we are asking of you. And so there's more on the selection criteria in the YIC applicant handbook. So definitely check that out. And then overall, tell us your story. We do want to know about your solution and all of that good stuff. But if there's maybe a story behind how or why you came up with this solution, what passions drive you to want to have a solution like this, tell us that. You can personalize this in a way that really helps you to stand out among other applicants. And last but not least, please submit by the deadline. We often have folks that run into some technical issues when everyone's trying to submit on the last day. And so I just suggest that if you can submit earlier, that is always great. If you do run into any technical issues, just email us and we can help you figure it out. And finally, just before we open it up for Q&A, I just want to play this video from one of our past winners, Brigitte, who just has some really encouraging words for you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Brigitte Gunawan from Indonesia. I am one of the winners of the Youth Innovation Challenge of 2024 with my project called Diversities, where we're bringing the ocean into classrooms using virtual reality storytelling, as well as lesson plans and in-person restoration events, including coral reef restoration. Through the prize, I got to attend an in-person conference in Taipei, Taiwan, which was an incredible opportunity to meet fellow winners and get some connections in the field of marine conservation. And that has been a monumental opportunity for me to kickstart my journey in continuing to develop the impact that we are making through diversities and through the prize. So I can't encourage enough for you all to give your best application and just give it a try. And best of luck with this year's applications.
Awesome. So just some encouraging words from Brigida and also touching on that aspect of really kind of learning and forming a community of marine conservationists from this. So what Kaylee had mentioned earlier. So we will be sending you several resources and an email after this webinar. So maybe expect that in the next day or two. So we'll send you the recording of this webinar, some links to our FAQ and our video pitch, and more about EE, which this is all on the website already if you would like to go and explore those now. And we also encourage you to look through past awardee innovations. So we have videos from awardees from the past 5 years. And also, again, to read the YIC applicant handbook. And to email us at jeep@naaee.org with any questions. And with that, we do have a lot of time to answer all of your questions. And you can also keep putting in your LinkedIns in the chat so you can connect with each other. But Anne, is there any questions in the chat that you want to flag?
I think most of the questions in the chat have been answered. I want to go to Pratyush has their hand up, and Yima, if you want to, Pratyush, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank any NEEE to giving this opportunity to participate and showcase our idea and perspective towards ocean diversity and safe protection. Uh, my question is about that. I wanted to ask, should our final submission focus on building something completely new and innovative, or can we improve or adapt an existing ocean monitoring solution? I do have an ocean monitoring solution idea already. I'm working on it for 2 months right now. Can we represent that particular idea, showcase here, submit it as an application? Is it fine to do that?
Yeah, great question. We actually had this question a little bit earlier too, so it's great that you're asking it again for anyone who's just joining. But we can have, as it both really, you can have a completely new innovation, or like you mentioned, if there's something that's already implemented, maybe something you're already even working on, you can tell us how you might enhance that, replicate it, scale it, make it better in some way, or have it address a new audience or using a new approach. There's a lot of different things you can do. So the answer is yes. You can take what you've already got and you can enhance it and you can submit that.
Thanks a lot. And just a final add-on that, sorry, I'm bothering you. Uh, that I am much of a technical background person. So initiating a tech beyond thinking is it okay to add on much tech for the application and submission?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll say that not all of our judges have a lot of a tech background, right? So I wouldn't assume that everyone knows what you're talking about if you're using some really technical terms and language, for example. So try to make it less jargon and more understandable for any audience. That being said, it can be a technical solution. So it can be something that is engineering based or STEM based or anything like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
Madeline.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. And we have Yima.
Okay, thank you very much, Madeline, and thank you, Anne. from NWAWE. I just want to ask if when making the videos that we're gonna upload, must we always look at the camera, or we can take a break and look at the bullets, some bullet points that we have?
Yeah, that's a good question. You don't have to look at the camera the whole time. No, we don't expect you to have it like memorized, for example. We were just mentioning that if you look at the camera, it makes it a little bit more informal. And so we don't really expect you to have like a produced video, like a studio produced video. So it could just be something informal like sometimes looking at the camera, sometimes reading what you've got about your solution. So yeah, it can definitely be informal.
All right
Good
then.
question, Yima. Related to that about videos, Justice in the chat is also asking, what else are they submitting? Is it just the video that they're submitting? Can you say more about the entire application as a whole, Madeline, in addition to the video?
Yeah, great question. And so, yes, the video definitely is an important part, but we also have a few written response questions that you'll be asking based on the selection criteria. So, you'll have a written response about what is your solution. You'll have one about what is the relevant research that informs it, and then how is it feasible and measurable. There also will be information about you. So, we'll ask you some info about yourself, like your email, maybe the name that you prefer to go by. If you're a group, we'll ask about your team members as well. And then finally, we'll also just ask, how did you hear about the YIC? Just a little bit of a demographic question at the end.
Thank you, Madeline. Another question in the chat from Aang Gok. They're asking if the solution, I love this question. Does the solution have to be related to educating people, or can that just be a product, a really good product, to solve marine pollution issues? Can you say more about that?
I love this question because this is really helpful for a lot of people. So the answer is that your solution should have some type of environmental education component. So if it is a product that's solving marine pollution, there should be some aspect where you're also educating people in some way. And so we sometimes get solutions that we call very tech heavy, so ones that are very much focused on solving something. And then their environmental education component is a little weak. And so we want to see if you can bring that environmental education component a little stronger, if you can really focus on using education to give people not only understanding of the issue, but also the skills and the motivation to help you solve that issue. So yes, please include some type of education component, even if your solution is a product.
What a great question and great answer, Madeline.
Thanks.
All
What
right,
else do we have?
I'm going through the chat to see what else we may have missed. Let's see. Oh, there's a good question here from Aziza. Aziza's asking more about the review process. And if you could say a little bit more about how you weight different sections of the application. And Aziza is specifically asking, how do you balance innovation and environmental education components? And is there a greater emphasis placed on the novelty of an idea or demonstrated impact, measurable improvements, that sort of thing? Can you say a little bit more about how all of those different components are going to be weighted and scored?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our selection criteria that we use is a pretty equal balance among all five of those selection criteria, right? So the EE topic, environmental education component, the feasibility, the innovation, and that it's informed by research. So those are all pretty equal. And so it kind of depends, if you have a new idea that may not be, for example, judges may not say, oh, well, this is stronger because it's a new idea, because they do want to see that you're addressing all of the selection criteria. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily one thing or another that is weighed more. It's really that you're showing us a well-rounded approach, that you're really thinking through how your solution could be long-term sustainable.
Thanks, Madeline.
Yeah.
And I am doing a final scroll. We do have a few more minutes if folks want to add additional questions to the chat that we haven't addressed yet. Lots of questions related to the video, Madeline. I thought I answered this question earlier, but let's talk about it again.
Yeah.
Can we use edited video with songs, short clips related to work, or what are the rules of the video we submit? Can you
Yeah.
address that, Madeline?
Yes, great question. And let me see if I can also get back up to our video requirements here. Is that showing? Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
So we do have a few video parameters. And so addressing your question about can we add songs or short clips, you can. So you can add music, you can add images or videos. What we ask is that they're copyright free. So that means that you have permissions to use them. And so we ask that if you're pulling them from like online sources, for example, that you share a link to that so that we can see that it's a copyright-free piece of music or a copyright-free image or video.
Awesome. Thanks, Madeline. There's a lot of questions about the proposal, what's included, how to submit. So I think just a good first step is to create your online account on Submittable and peruse the application, the questions, the video section. And so you'll see all that we're asking and you'll get a better sense of where you can include information and not. And then it'll be an easier way to imagine your proposal.
Yeah, great point, Anne. And when you log into your Submittable and you're inside the YIC application, you don't have to submit just because you
Yeah.
opened it. You can save it as a draft and you can come back to it later and continue on. So don't be afraid to just explore that now. Make a Submittable account and take a look at the application now while you're thinking about it.
Okay, I'm doing a final scroll through the chat to see if we missed anything. I think we're good. Let's just pause for another few seconds. And Pragyan is asking, it's 3 minutes and is asking if there's a minimum range. I don't think there's a minimum, but as long as you're hitting what you want to hit, so that's sharing your story, sharing your idea, saying a little bit more about you, and just giving the reviewers a slice of who you are as a person. I think that's what you're trying to capture. If you can do it in 30 seconds, Pragyan, do it in 30 seconds. But there is no minimum range for that. Okay, what do you think, Madeline? Do you want to wait another 30 seconds to see if there's more questions?
Yeah, well, Anne and I can stay on, I think. Is that okay with you, Anne? We can stay on
Yeah,
for a
for
few
sure.
minutes, but I think I see one last question and then maybe we can close out after that. Anyone who wants to stick around, you can stick around. But let's see, is there a question here?
A question from Cedric. Cedric is asking, when you're applying as an individual, even though the movement includes many people, can you still apply as an individual?
Yeah, you can apply as an individual, and we also have a part in the submission where you can say that you have a partner. So, for example, if you're saying the movement, if you mean like it may be an organization or something, you can say my partner is this organization, and they can also submit a letter of support on your behalf, and you can upload that into your submission. So, if you've got a collaboration with another person or another organization or a business, you can ask them for a letter of reference that you can submit as part of your submission to just show that you've got a partnership, you're already working on this innovation together. And yeah. And I see one more, kind of similar to what we've said before. So the question is, what if the innovative idea is more likely a business product? So industry can earn profit from it. I don't know that that is necessarily anything that the judges are basing their evaluation on. We really just want to see that the innovative idea addresses all the selection criteria and is also working in some way to make the environment healthier and safer and better for the marine animals and for us and society as a whole. Okay, and then one last question from Justice. The solution, is it limited to a specific topic, or can we also have a cross-cutting solution that addresses all key topics? You can have a solution that addresses all. We only require that you address one, especially because they address different audiences, right? So one key topic is more personal action, one is more community action, and one is more of a global focus. If you do have a solution that addresses all three, that's great. That's totally fine, but we only require that you address one. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, so we will go ahead and close out. I'll stick around for a couple minutes just in case there's anything else that you're thinking of at the last minute. But thank you so much for joining today. We are so excited to see your submissions very soon. So best of luck, and just email us if you have any other questions that you think of. And we will be hearing from us soon with all of our links. But have a great evening. Thank you so much for those of you joining late. I hope you get some good sleep, and we will see your submission soon.
Thank you, Madeline. Thanks, everybody. And thank you especially to Kaylee, who kicked us off sharing LinkedIn profiles. So please do stay connected and reach out anytime if you think of more questions. And good luck to all of you. Can't wait to see what you submit.